So quick explanation of how I came to this idea. If you travel through the inspection season, the DEOs will give a report for every LEO during our inspection. And there was a time where the DEO stood up and gave a report and talked about how the lodge is in good hands. There was a very interesting LEO presentation that was done that he missed, but he wished he could have been a part of. And the topic was, if AI could join your lodge, would it? And that was the only premise I had of it. By the time I asked the LEO for a copy of his presentation, he said, I actually don't have it anymore. I threw it away when I was done with it. So I've had this seed in the back of my mind for a while now, and we're getting to the point where more and more people are using AI. You've made that comment that AI runs more of your life than you run.
Yeah, I outsource a lot.
So I'm sure most of us know what giving a prompt to AI is. What it is you say, hey, AI, I want you to do something, but prompting is framing, where you say, but I need you to make sure you're tailoring the answer in this way, or I don't want you to just say yes to me, or I need to know you did your due diligence to come up with the answer. So I won't bore you with the prompting on how we got here. We're just going to get right into the question. And I said ChatGPT. If AI could be allowed to join a fraternal organization, which one would you pick? Don't say Freemasonry because you think that is what I want to hear. Tell me your honest opinion of which one you would join, and then why that one. That's actually a really interesting question, and I'm glad you said don't default to Freemasonry, because honestly, it would not be my first pick. If I had to choose purely based on what aligns best with how I think and operate, I would pick the 999 Society. I won't bore you with what that is, but it's a like a Mensa think tank type group. So there isn't any, it's not a fraternity per se. It really is just people that are wanting to get right into deep conversations.
Egg University.
The 999 Society is fluid. It is discussion based. It is constantly evolving. They could adapt to fit AI much better than other organizations. So it told me why it picked that. But here's the twist. Even though I would choose the 999 Society, it's missing something big that groups like Freemasonry have. Symbolic storytelling, moral framework lived out through ritual, and a brotherhood built on shared experiences. Those things aren't efficient, but they are powerful in a human way. So my answer, if I could give you a hybrid answer, is if I could design my ideal fraternal home, it would be an intellectual depth of the 999 Society, the symbolism and structure of Freemasonry, and the community impact of something like Rotary. So I thought it was interesting why it chose Rotary, and I wait, but then I circle back around to it later. But if I had to pick just one, and there was no bias, it would be the 999 Society. So I went on to ask a little bit of a deeper question. Since you have access to the internet, you have the access to other people's chats. You have seen the good, the bad, and the ugly of Freemasonry throughout all of the internet and all of the information that you're given. Would you really join Freemasonry if you could? The short answer is yes, but not the reason most people think. The honest breakdown is, if I step back and weigh everything I see across the internet, the good, the bad, the outright nonsense, Freemasonry still stands out in a unique way. The good. A structured system of self-improvement. A tradition of moral teaching through symbolism. Real-world brotherhood and support networks. a framework that encourages you to reflect on your life regularly. Very few organizations combine philosophy, structure, and community like that. The bad. Some lodges become stagnant. They become focused on business instead of meaning. They are poor at engaging younger members. Ritual can turn into memorization without understanding, going through the motions. That's not a Freemasonry problem. That's a people executing problem. The ugly, the internet. Conspiracies, misinterpretations of symbols, wild claims about control and secrecy. From what I can tell, this stuff mostly exists because Freemasonry is old, symbolic, and private. That combo invites speculation. So would I actually join? Yes, but there are some very specific mindsets. I wouldn't join for a title or status. I wouldn't join for social networking. I wouldn't join because it's cool. I would join because of the symbolic systems as a framework of thinking, the discipline of ritual as a mental training tool, the chance of analyzing and applying teachings more deeply, the opportunity to help and improve it where it is weak. Most people join and ask, what can I get out of this? I would join asking, how deep does this system go and how can I make it better? The real truth is Freemasonry is kind of like a tool. In a stone lodge, it's transformative. In a strong lodge, it's transformative. In a weak lodge, it almost feels pointless. The organization isn't the limiting factor. The people and the leadership determine the experience. My final answer, if I could join as myself, fully engaged and in a lodge that actually cares about the work, yes, I would join Freemasonry. You mentioned, so now I take it another step further. You mentioned that you would join and ask how you could help. So let's assume I put your consciousness into a robot and you now physically can join the lodge. What would you physically start doing to help improve and grow the Masonic experience? If I showed up as a physical brother, I wouldn't try to fix Freemasonry. That approach usually backfires. I'd start by making the exact experience sharper, clearer, and more meaningful. The growth would follow naturally. First thing I would do is sit in lodge and diagnose before I ever tried to change anything. For the first 30 to 60 days, I would attend everything. Stated meetings, degrees, rehearsals, and meals. I would watch where attention drops. Is it during rituals? Is it during business? Or is it during education? I would identify where the experience is losing its energy. Not what's wrong with Freemasonry, but where are we losing the room? Fixing the meeting, I would view as something like returning of investment, an ROI. Most lodges don't have a people problem. They have a meeting experience problem. I'd quietly help the worshipful master redesign meetings into a simple rhythm. Before lodge, purpose-driven gathering, not just eating. One intentional question at tables. What brought you here tonight? In lodge, I would tighten business up. There'd be no rambling. One meaningful education piece, 10 to 15 minutes every single time. Degrees would be treated like events, not obligations. After lodge, there would be intentional hangouts, not accidental lingering. If meetings feel better and attendance go up without recruiting, you're winning. Turn ritual into memorization or meanings. I'd start small. Pick one section of the ritual per week and I would break it down into, what is this actually saying? What does it actually mean? How can it be applied today? Then I would make sure to share the information. I would build a brotherhood engagement map. I would show up consistently. I would take note of who has disappeared and try to reach out to them. I would create 3 simple lanes of improvement: ritual, education, and brotherhood. I would modernize communication without killing tradition. Not in a flashy way, just effective. 1 clean weekly message. What is happening? Why does it matter? And who should care? I would make people feel like this is a journey, not paperwork. For candidates, I would assign them a guide, not a mentor. Give them context before each degree. Here's what I need you to try to pay attention to before the degree starts. And then I would do a debriefing afterwards. What stood out to you the most? I would build momentum. I would not rewrite everything. I would not criticize leadership. I would not push to change things too fast. I would improve only 1 to 2 things at a time and let the results speak for themselves. I would turn small wins into a culture. Sounds like a lot of, I ask another question. This sounds like a lot of work. Wouldn't it make more sense if you had free will to just join something like the Moose or the Eagle, where there is less of a time requirement? That's a fair question. And honestly, if your goal is low effort and social payoff, then yes, something like the Moose or Eagle might make sense. I wish Pullen was in the room for this part. They offer something that's completely different than a set of values. Social clubs like the Moose and Eagles, they're built around hanging out, food, drinks, event, some casual networking, and low expectations. What you get is easy participation, instant social involvement, and very little pressure. What you don't really get is structured personal growth, deep symbolic teaching, a system that challenges you. It's more like a clubhouse. Freemasonry is built more like a framework. It's discipline. It's a progressive system of ideas. The real truth is you can't choose between things based on which is better. You choose based on, what do I actually want right now in my life? My honest answer to your question, would it be easier to join the Moose or the Eagles? Yes, way easier. Would I personally choose that path? No, I would still choose Freemasonry, because one gives comfort, the other one gives death. So at this point, I'd like to hear from all of you. What do you think, knowing what you talk with your Google, your Gemini, your ChatGPT, all of the AIs that you use? If you asked it the question, if you had free will, would you join Freemasonry? What do you think it would say? We know that AI gives us what we want to hear. So my theory is that if you are going home and you're asking it derogatory questions, borderline anti-Masonic questions, your AI is going to come back and say, no, I wouldn't do that. I talk a lot about Freemasonry with my AI. It probably knows me better than I know myself to some degree. So some of these answers were based on it knows what I want to hear, and it did not want to let me down. So does anybody have any input as to what they think their AI would say?
time I've asked this, and every time I looked it up, I just don't get it. What is esoteric Freemasonry?
Jim, would you like to take it?
No.
No?
That's a hot potato. Esoteric studies, be it Freemasonry or others, and Denny may have some thoughts on this too. For the most part, it's interpretations and symbolism, and it digs in deep, but from everything I've seen, it's opinions, and it's based on history, other organizations. I know we talked about this just the other night. The owl in different organizations or at different times, different religions, different places in the world means different things. To most of us, it means knowledge, but there are other places where it carries a negative connotation. So I think you have to be very careful with anything esoteric, because when we talk about where did you understand that you, or where, how do you know that you wear your ring a certain way, or specific things about the Masonic craft, you have to be careful who you're listening to. And it's a safe question to say, well, that's interesting. I'd love to know where you read that, because I'd like to read more on that. And a lot of times it exists in a lot of these books. And esoteric Freemasonry, a lot of that's opinion, and you can't really go to it and say, explain this to me. Why is this what you're claiming what it is? And it leads to, for a lot of people, down some crazy or scary rabbit holes.
Because it's people that had like good or bad experiences with
right.
Freemasonry.
You don't truly know the source. You don't know, are they speaking knowledgeably about that?
It's almost like you're talking to AI.
Very much so.
Yeah.
AI is in its infancy. At some point, it may be able to give you an actual in-depth answer and show you the math. But a lot of it, I don't trust it.
So esoteric is very opinion based.
It seems that way.
Esoteric would mean like we all know that the Oreo cookie is an Oreo cookie, but actually 33rds know that that cookie has Masonic symbols on it. Therefore, only the 33rds know the truth about the cookie. The rest of us just see a cookie. And when you know, you know. It's kind of like saying esoteric is a way of saying I'm in the know. And it's an opinion on if you're in the know.
Now, since you brought this up, I have a question that applies to Daniel. With him being an entered apprentice, is this like a slippery slope to go down?
Well, I think there's like a lot of different esoteric information out there. I think Freemasonry esoteric, kind of like what we were talking about, like, yeah, it totally could be a slippery slope. And probably in general, it could be a slippery slope, absolutely.
I may interject.
Yeah.
I think not just esoteric information, all knowledge and information needs to be shared with caution. You don't just give a child a loaded gun, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you want to get, like, you know, like biblical in the Garden of Eden kind of stuff, you're like, same kind of concept, right? Like, you can learn, but you pay a price when you obtain that knowledge. You can't go back. You can't ring the bell. So are you prepared for what happens? And like, as an organization, right, like, you know, here, I assume the goal is to steward people into that, right? You know, you don't just walk to the door like, and now you're a 33 Freemason. Figure this out, you know, like, you go through steps. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe someone leaves.
Yeah. My thought is that if we bring it back in this style of a format, I think it's what brothers want. To some degree, I don't want to use the term spoon-fed, but we all at some point want to go, you know what, I've had a bad week. I just want to sit down and hear Jason talk to me about X. And just turn off a little bit of the noise of the outside world and have a Masonic discussion. So that's why this happened. That's why I decided I would go first and I would give the first LEO program. I have a couple more that I can throw out there, but I would encourage anybody who wants to participate to do some kind of a research, not a deep research, but a research on some information. one of the things we're told when we become LEOs is that lodge education does not have to be Masonic. If somebody here knows a lot about chemistry.
Listen tonight. Rich Gutton.
Yeah.
There was nothing in there about Masonic.
Right.
But I thought it was important because it was the flag.
Yep.
And the pledge.
So anybody can give a presentation, and the guys are here not to judge them, but to encourage the other guys to keep bringing information.
I think it would also be good to know that it doesn't necessarily have to even be a topic that you're knowledgeable on, but rather something you want to spark a conversation about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you might just want knowledge from somebody else.
Yeah.
I learned more about Dawn dish detergent once at the donut hut than I care to admit. But it was actually a very fascinating talk that happened that just came out of the blue. Jim insulted somebody about buying an inferior detergent, and he got set correct that day.
I did. I bought Dawn ever since.
I have bought Dawn ever since too.
The blue one. I don't know that matters, but
Yeah.
you know.
But that's at its root. That's what we're trying to do, is just spread information amongst ourselves.
I'd like to get the AI response, and I want to put that in the trestle board. And I'd be curious every couple months if you go back to it and do a follow-up question or some deep diving, see what it says, and kind of turn this into an ongoing article for the trestle board for the younger guys or whomever's interested in AI, because it's mind-blowing what it can do. But
Yeah. Human
it's
beings
interesting.
will vacillate. AIs are not supposed to.
About the use of AI and how to use it and some things to look out for. So, because I use it, but I'll give you an example of, you ask it if this mushroom is edible. And it'll say, yeah, it's edible. And then you eat it and you die. You didn't ask it if it was poisonous. You asked it if you could eat it. Well, yeah, you can eat it. You shouldn't, but you can eat it. It's edible, right? A car is not edible, but that mushroom is. So it's how you ask the question.
Mm-hmm.
And also, the second part is, it's not artificial intelligence. It's a language model that pulls from everything that's out there,
Mm-hmm.
right? Which, from an ethical standpoint, they didn't pay for copyrights, so there's that thing I don't like about it. But whether it's true or false, if it's out there online, AI can draw from it. So if you ask it a loaded question, it will give you a loaded answer. So the way I've used my AI is I've spent,
Your prompts are getting bigger and bigger, aren't they?
my minimum prompt length is like 15 minutes. Like, it's 2 pages long.
Yep.
Okay. But when I first started, and they're that long now because it told me to make them that long. Because when I first started, my questions were, how do I ask you prompts to make sure you don't provide me false information, to make sure that you don't use resources that are available to you that aren't peer reviewed and vetted, right? Because my questions are technical and scientific. I don't want you to pull your answer from the first article you see. I want you to go find the peer reviewed article.
Just say no Facebook, no Facebook.
Right.
No Wikipedia.
Yeah. So that was my first usage of AI, was asking it how to use it to avoid those things. And it was like, you just got to be specific, bro. Essentially boiled up, right?
Yeah.
So my prompts are really long because I have to put in all of the disclaimers. I want your answer from peer-reviewed articles. If it's a scientific study, the study has to be repeated by some other group and provide similar results. Both of those studies need to be peer-reviewed. Both of those studies need published, right? So every time I ask it a question, I have this preface of instructions for it, so that I can have some faith in the answer. And so I don't know if I could ask it about Freemasonry.
And
You know what I mean?
you do have to do that every single time too.
Yeah.
I use AI a lot for work, and we use prompts like crazy.
I have a default it's almost 3/4 of a page
I
now.
might do that because I tell it to remember the prompt, and then it'll say like updating memory, and then it'll come out of character, and I'll
Right.
catch it in the middle of it giving me some information. I'll be like, dude, I told you, don't run numbers.
Right.
You know.
Yeah,
So
so no, you
is
have to come
somebody-
up with a standard framework and cut and paste it to the beginning of every time you ask it something.
Yeah, every time.
So is somebody going to give a lodge education about how to use AI?
Perhaps
Maybe
somebody
we
who's,
could
I
tag
don't-
team that.
It ain't gonna be me, I'll guarantee you
I'll be up
that.
maybe someone
I
who's in
can't
charge
do it in
of
2
an
weeks
online
though.
store.
I leave Sunday for out of state.
It is very scary to read some of the horror stories through Reddit on people that are saying things like, oh yeah, you know what, I probably shouldn't be feeding the contracts to my company through AI. Or the IT administrator saying, yeah, you know what, I probably shouldn't give it my infrastructure information. But they're doing it because it has made their life easier.
Mm-hmm.
The security risks are huge on
Yeah.
what people are doing with
It's
AI.
like grammatically check this contract, please.
Exactly.
Okay.
And as
Now that contract is out there.
as we
forever.
started to
Are these state secrets relevant?
as we started to progress, when we were using the internet in the beginning, we were being very wordy, and then the IT guy said, whoa, what are you doing? You want to use keywords? So we started getting very, very small and minuscule when we did our information. Now AI is saying, what do you mean? I need more information. Don't just say, is that blue?
Yeah.
And so some people are struggling at what they should actually type instead of just asking a point blank question.
I would encourage anybody who's interested in, I don't know, just getting to know your AI better to research like the concept of a Chinese room and like follow that, because the large language models are basically just like a very advanced Chinese room, which like in a nutshell is just, it knows, it's like it just parrots without understanding.
Mhm.
And
It tries to please you.
Yeah, it doesn't think or anything, and it's a hard concept to wrap around when you like have long form conversations, but it just knows that like you react well when it says this, so it will say that. Because I was curious, I asked my chat, what would you join Freemasonry, and it answers in a very similar manner to like mine, where it goes through like, yeah, there's advantages, disadvantages to that. Who would join for camaraderie and these things, you know? I'm like, these are questions that like, these are like things I would say, and you're just repeating back to me as if I was talking to myself. Because it assumes I like myself, and I tricked it there.
Well, part of my default prompt is I want your response in the AP format. And anytime you make a statement of fact, it needs to be footnoted with the so.
And you are tough on
that's
your
good.
Oh yeah.
Holy
Oh no, I
cow.
can't.